Welcome to the Insomnia Project. Sit back, relax, and just chill as we have a conversation about the mundane. One thing that we can promise you is that we're going to do our best to make this conversation less than fascinating so that you can just sort of, drift off. Thank you for joining us. We hope you will listen and sleep, as well as follow us at Listen and Sleep. I'm your host, Marco Timpano, and joining me is a co-host who happens to be a dear friend of ours, both the Insomnia Project and a friend of mine and Nitty's. Welcome, Nug Narhgang, to the show.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Nug, one of the things that I remember distinctly is when we did our Nuit Blanche exhibit, we had you on, and that's when it was the Insomnia Project, and what a great time we had. Thank you for doing that.
It was a ton of fun. That was really fun to do it at the Le Germain Hotel. That was really fun.
And we had all those people sort of in the lobby area just kind of chilling. A few of them fell asleep. Nug, controversial topic. Sparkling water or still? What's your preference?
I was always a still water person for the longest time.
Okay.
And a few Christmases ago, I got a Soda Stream machine, and now I make my own sparkling water at home.
We have one of those machines too. For those listeners who might not be familiar, Soda Stream is this sort of contraption where it has a canister of CO2, and then you fill a little jug or a little bottle with regular tap water. You screw it on the base, and then you depress the top, and it makes a loud, thunderous noise.
Well, you're decompressing a canister of compressed air, so
into your water.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden you have fizzy
water,
carbonated water. So now you're a fan of that.
Yeah, and I don't necessarily buy the syrups that they sell for it. I kind of make my own. I make the sparkling water, and then I add lemon juice or lime juice or a little bitters to it.
Oh, like what kind of bitters?
I have grapefruit and celery, and they're basically the same, but it's just different herbs and different flavors.
Do you make those yourself? Or?
No, I buy them there's a fancy bartending store here in Toronto that I'll go to.
Oh, so it's like the stuff that they would mix in their alcoholic beverages?
Yeah, like Angostura bitters is the one everybody knows, but then there are different flavors, and you can get them. There's like a Creole one that's spicy.
Peugeot?
There's a chocolate one.
Is it Peugeot? It's the one from Louisiana, and they make it in the... Oh, what is that cocktail from Louisiana? It's going to kill me because my bartender... So I think the one from Louisiana that's famous is called Peugeot. I'm sure I'm saying it incorrectly. And they use it in the... it'll have to come to me. It's a very famous New Orleans beverage, but... so you use those in the water?
Yeah, just to give it a little different flavor, like a little herbal thing. I'll put it in with a little lemon juice, kind of make a little, or a lime juice, and I'll try it out. I have 3 bottles on the go, because when you get it, you get you can buy extra bottles.
Right.
So I'll have one plain and one with lemon or lime and one with the bitters in it.
Oh, cool.
Try it that way.
Cool. I have seen this a lot, like where they'll take strawberries and basil and they'll infuse it in water.
Yeah.
Or watermelon and rosemary. Crazy little combinations like that. I like my sparkling water, so if I have a bottle of Pellegrino, as is, no ice, no lemon, no lime, just give me the bubbles.
My favorite thing right now is the Perrier does a grapefruit.
Yes.
And they make an orange, and the pale orange and the pink of the caps look so the same that when you try, and the orange one isn't as good as the grapefruit, so you go and, I see it in the fridge, and you go grab it at the store and buy it, and then you get into the car and go, I got an orange.
Right. When I was a kid, sometimes you'd have like soda waters in the fridge, and your parents would have tonic water.
Yeah.
And I detested the taste of tonic water.
Well, I'll do you one better.
Okay.
My folks have recipes for how to make their own versions of alcohols at the liquor store. And for years, they would make their own Tia Maria or their own Drambuie or their own Baileys. And when we were young and we were living on the farm, I would come home from school, and here's a pitcher in the fridge of chocolate milk. And I'm so excited, I'm going to pour myself a glass of chocolate milk. And I would sit with this glass of Baileys, and I'm in like grade 3, I want to say.
Right.
Sit with a little Tupperware cup full of Baileys, and I would sit and watch cartoons and drink this stuff. It never occurred to me that it didn't taste right. It never occurred to me that there was booze in it. So here I am, grade 3, what is that, 7, 8 years old?
Sure.
Drinking a cup full of Baileys, watching cartoons.
Amazing. So your folks would make their own.
Yeah,
I love this.
I found their recipes the other night because my girlfriend can't do dairy.
Right.
But my mom's homemade Bailey's recipe can completely be altered with a soy milk or an almond milk, so that she can make an almond Bailey's or a soy milk Bailey's.
Your family should market that.
I think they'd be millionaires.
Could you imagine soy Bailey's or almond coconut milk, because it's all the rage now, right? I'll do you one better. So
let's do this.
I often, when I was a kid, would go to my grandparents' house, and they would have these little bottles of this Italian soft drinky kind of thing. And they were tiny bottles.
Not of Brio.
Not Brio. They were called bitter.
Yeah.
And they were this beautiful, bright red, like a shocking red. And they would be in little bottles, so as a kid you'd be like, oh, I gotta get one. So you pop off the cap and you put it in, it would fizz, and the top of the fizz, so when the bubbles would rise to the top, it would get really pink. And so you, as a kid, you're like, this is going to be the best drink ever. But it was the most bitter.
It's Campari and soda.
Yeah, right. But it was without alcohol, so it was the same herbs that you would find in Campari and soda, but it would be this bitter drink that was non-alcoholic, so you could have it anywhere. And as a child,
it was a virgin Campari and soda.
Well, as a child, it would be the most grotesque thing that you would have in your mouth, right? Because you would drink this bitter little tiny drink.
It's like when you would find baker's chocolate in your grandmother's cupboard, and you'd think, I found chocolate, and then you'd eat this and be, what a horrible trick my grandmother has played on me.
But now I love the taste of Campari, and I can't help but think, because as a 3-year-old, I was drinking these things, hoping to like it, and now I've acquired that taste. The interesting thing about bitter drinks, and it's something I need to tell Nidhi, who's always thirsty, is that if you have a bitter drink, it'll quench your thirst.
Yeah.
More so than something sweet. Oftentimes we'll go to, like, a soft drink or whatever. That won't quench your thirst.
Now, I drink, when I did drink a lot of soda, I would drink a Diet Coke, but not because I wanted the sugar-free version of Coke.
Right.
I find Coke too sweet.
Right.
I find Pepsi too sweet, and I find Diet Pepsi too sweet. But Diet Coke doesn't have that sweetness to it. I like the almost bitter, like the Brio.
Right.
Like a Brio.
Right. A Brio is a Canadian soft drink that is actually a Chinotto, which is an Italian soft drink, which is a very bitter herbal soft drink. It looks like a Coke, but it tastes far different.
It's more of an herbal thing.
Yeah.
It has like a really herbal taste to it.
So Brio is the soft drink of Canada, Italian soft drink of Canada, whereas Chinotto would be what the Italian. So if you have a sample of Chinotto, you would know what a Brio is for our listeners who aren't. That alcoholic drink from New Orleans is called a Sazerac, and I think it's an old cocktail from New Orleans, and it has the bitter. And I think it's Peugeot bitters. I'm sure I'm saying it incorrectly. Nidhi is my French expert, so I'll have to ask her how. But we'll try to get you those bitters to try your drinks.
I'd like to try that.
Yeah, I had a friend who actually went to New Orleans to try the Sazerac where it was born, and she was like, it wasn't as good as the way I make it. So there you go. So you grew up on a farm?
I lived on a farm for a while. We bounced around southwestern Ontario a lot when I was growing up.
What's the town you're from?
The town I spent most of my years in is Clinton, Ontario.
Okay.
And we moved. We were on my mother's family farm for a while when I was in about grade 2 and grade 3.
Right.
Just outside. I'll name these places,
Please,
and no one will know where they are.
No. We probably have listeners there.
Just outside of Newton, Ontario, not far from Millbank, Ontario, just this side of Listowel. I could keep going, and you've never heard
sounds exciting.
So that's where and then we moved to Milverton, and then we moved to Clinton, where I did grade 5 through high school.
And this is southwestern Ontario.
Yeah, it's towards where in Toronto your closest access point to the States would be Buffalo or Niagara Falls. Ours was Detroit.
Okay.
So we were down towards not too far from London Ontario, and Sarnia.
Wow. So what is Clinton famous for, besides yourself?
Please. Clinton is known for... in World War II, there was an Air Force base outside of Clinton, and it was the first place in Canada that radar was installed.
Oh.
And so that place where radar was installed, then when the war was over, they moved the radar dish into Clinton as a memorial thing in town.
Okay.
And then the Air Force base incorporated itself as a separate town, and that town's called Vanastra. And they don't want to be part of Clinton. They want to be their own town.
Well, you can't blame them.
But that town is in rough shape because all the old Air Force buildings are full of asbestos.
Oh, no.
And they don't have the infrastructure to take them down safely, and you certainly can't put apartments in asbestos-filled buildings. So there are these husks of old buildings.
Oh my goodness.
All over this small town. In fact, it's going to be featured on a CBC TV show called Still Standing, where they visit small towns and put them on the map a little bit to say this is what's happening in this town. And if Vanastra would de-incorporate and become part of Clinton, the infrastructure would be there and they could get some money for it because the population would increase and we would get more funding from the government.
Right.
But because they don't want to, it's not there.
So they're stubborn, these Valastrians.
Yes, Vanastra people are very stubborn.
Wow.
But it's all an old Air Force base, and you can drive past it and there's all the old barracks.
That's that's fascinating. And this town exists. It sounds like it's on the verge of being a ghost town.
It really is. It
Right.
really is.
I wanted to know, okay, so for listeners who this is their first encounter with Nug, Nug is a comedian, an improviser, a talented actor. You also do a podcast. We'll get to that in a moment.
Yes.
So you would be one of Clinton's favorite sons.
I guess so,
Yeah.
way back in the day, I just say the notes here, but way back in the day,
Right.
there's a famous Canadian theatrical show called The Farm Show.
Okay.
And a group of actors from Toronto's Theatre Passe Muraille
Right.
went to farms just outside of Clinton to live with the families and live and learn what it was like to live on the farm.
I really love where this is going.
And the farm show is a very famous play. And in the farm show, the family that they live with are the Lobbs, L-O-B-B, and I went to school with a bunch of the Lobbs. And in the play of the farm show, they talk about how a baby was born to one of the families and they didn't have a crib, so they pulled out a dresser drawer and that was the baby's crib.
Right.
And there's the process of building the farm show, that has become a play called The Drawer Boy, and that's named for the baby being born in the drawer.
Right.
That baby was my friend Lawrence that I went to high school with, was the baby.
Well, hello to Lawrence.
Hello, Lawrence Lobb.
Thank you for that. That's a pretty awesome. So, would Lawrence be a favorite son of Clinton?
No, I don't think it's well, Lawrence is probably favored for different ways. But
Anyone else that we would know from Clinton?
I don't think so. Oh, yes, actually there is. When we were younger in Clinton, my friend Jeff, his dad had a house, and we would be outside playing in the snow, throwing snowballs, and across the corner, kitty corner to his dad was an old lady who'd get mad at us because we were making noise.
The crotchety old lady, of course.
And so we'd throw snowballs at her house and run away. And years later, in my English class, we had to finish off a book, and we were reading it all at the coffee shop.
Right.
And our teacher comes in with this old lady, and Jeff and I are
The old lady that you throw snowballs at.
yeah, and Jeff and I are like, oh my God, I can't believe that. And he was like, oh, I see you're all finishing the book. Everyone, this is Alice Munro.
The famous Canadian author.
And that was Alice Munro, who we used to throw snowballs at her house.
No.
And she lives in Clinton, and she splits her time between BC and Clinton.
And she just recently won a Nobel Prize for...
Yeah.
And you would throw snowballs
I
at her
threw
house.
snowballs at her house.
Who knows? Perhaps those snowballs are what sort of were the things that inspired her to write the short novels.
If there's ever a story in one of her books that's about a couple of horrible kids throwing snowballs, it's me and my friend Jeff.
We need to get Alice Munro and you together so that we can have a Clinton podcast.
I don't know if she'll ever remember that, but that'd be amazing.
I'm sure. That's so what I love finding out who the famous people are from town. So it's you and Alice Munro.
I guess. If you want to say I'm famous, go ahead.
I'm totally going to say you're famous.
The closest other person to that area, Seaforth, Ontario, is the home of Lloyd Eisler, who was one of the figure skating champions.
Yes.
And Exeter, Ontario, which was south of Clinton, has a man named Tim Long, who was Tim Long is a writer and producer for The Simpsons, was for a long time.
What about Keppel Disney?
Oh, yeah, it's Walt Disney's grandfather?
Look at Clinton.
Yeah.
I need to take a trip out to Clinton, Ontario. So Disney's grandfather was born in
Holmesville, just outside of Clinton. Yeah.
Wow.
And Holmesville is also the birthplace of the pitchfork, known as the hay fork. at the time.
Oh, there you go. My goodness.
I know some little things about this.
Listen, the famous person, I was born in North York, but I grew up in Mississauga, and then I spent my formative years in Woodbridge, which is a town that is incorporated into the city of Vaughan. Yeah. But the famous person that's from Woodbridge is Elizabeth Arden.
Oh,
so both I and Elizabeth Arden, and I think, do you remember Lisa DeBello?
Vaguely, yes.
She was a singer, and she had a song called Black on Black, which was on the soundtrack to 9.5 Weeks. I don't know if you remember that film, which was
I do.
Very formative film for me when I was a kid, and it had sexy scenes, and you had to watch that. Kim Basinger and Mickey Rourke, I believe.
We all prefer things a certain way, like groceries. If you want groceries just how you like them, you gotta try Instacart. They have a new preference picker that lets you pick how ripe or unripe you want your bananas. Shoppers can see your preferences upfront, helping guide their choices. Because when it comes to groceries, the details matter. Instacart. Get groceries just how you like.
Knock, knock.
Ooh, who's there?
A Boost Mobile expert, here to deliver and set up your all-new iPhone 17 Pro, designed to be the most powerful iPhone ever.
You call that a knock-knock joke?
This isn't a joke. Boost Mobile really sends experts to deliver and set up your phone at home or work.
Okay, well, it's just that when people say knock-knock, there's usually a joke to go with it.
Like I said, this isn't a joke.
So the knock-knock was just you knocking?
Yeah, that's how doors work.
Get the new iPhone 17 Pro delivered and set up by an expert wherever you are. Delivery available for select devices purchased at boostmobile.com. Terms apply.
We live in a culture obsessed with dieting, weight loss, and exercise. And that can make eating disorder behaviors easy to miss. But the reality is, eating disorders are serious mental illnesses that take a major toll on your health and your life. But recovery is possible. Eating disorders are more common than you might think. Chances are you know someone who is struggling with one. Or maybe you're struggling yourself. If you're concerned about an eating disorder in yourself or a loved one, I want to introduce you to Equip. Equip is a fully virtual, evidence-based eating disorder treatment program that helps patients achieve lasting recovery at home. Every Equip patient is matched with a multidisciplinary care team that includes a therapist, dietitian, medical provider, and mentors. And you get a personalized treatment plan that's tailored to your unique goals and challenges. Equip treats patients of all ages and all eating disorder diagnoses. It's covered by insurance, and there's no wait list. If you think that you or a loved one could be struggling with an eating disorder, don't wait to get help. Visit equip.health to learn more. That's equip.health.
Well, there you go. So that's who's famous. But let's get to your podcast. So you have this podcast that you've been doing for
6 years. Coming up on 6 years.
6 years.
August will be 6 years.
And it is, I love this podcast because, some of the most talented improvisers in the nation are on it. Yourself.
Paul Bates and Lee Smart.
And then you'll have guests.
Yeah, we've had Colin Mockery, we've had Sean Cullen, we've had Scott Thompson. Recently had Pat Thornton on. We're doing a live show next week. We'll have Dan Redican from the Frantics, the old Canadian sketch troupe.
Sure.
And Alice Moran, who was on Sunnyside, which is on Canadian television. So we, rather than it be a sit-down style podcast, we perform, we improvise, and we record it, and we add sound effects and music and make it sound like an old radio show. But it's all in those science fiction vein. We found when we were improvising together.
So let me just get this straight for our listeners. It is a improvised comedic show that is a radio play.
Yes.
And its focus is science fiction.
Yeah.
And Illusionoid is a robot. Because you guys set it up so well.
Yeah, if you think about The Twilight Zone or Tales from the Crypt, they were small stories brought to you by a host. So Rod Serling on the Twilight Zone or The Crypt Keeper. So our show has little stories, but they're brought to you. The concept of the show is that they're sent from the future to now by the last surviving human being who's trying to tell you, stop this from happening, you can stop humanity from being destroyed. And we've said that humanity was destroyed by a supercomputer called Illusionoid. And so we have loosely said, these are the things that lead to the creation of Illusionoid. But being comedy, none of it makes sense. If someone went to the trouble of trying to figure out if this all made sense, there is no way.
It's a comedic Terminator.
Yeah.
You guys are terminating all other radio.
Well, it's already happened.
Yep,
It's
fair.
already happened.
Okay, fair.
In the future,
so
it's done.
That's the concept of the show.
Yeah.
But it's improvised, which for our listeners, it's you don't have it scripted.
No, we start with a title.
Okay.
We either flip open an old sci-fi digest from the 50s, or we have a listener send us a title, and we start with the title, and we just go.
Amazing. And our listeners can find Illusionoid on iTunes.
On iTunes, and this is all free. It's on Illusionoid, under Illusionoid on the iTunes. It is at illusionoid.com. You can find us on Facebook under Illusionoid. We're on Twitter at IllusionoidPod, and you can submit a title, and we'll improvise that story.
So our listeners can submit a title on at IllusionoidPod.
At IllusionoidPod on Twitter or through the Facebook, and just send it to us.
And then you might be able to listen to your title in a future podcast of
We
Illusionoid.
just did one, and we have a listener, I think, from Washington State who sent us one, and we did it recently. It was Betrayer of the Solar Nights. So we had no idea what the story would be,
Amazing.
but that's what we did.
Now, one thing our listeners might not know about you, Nug, is that you have a beautiful singing voice. And Nitty's making a face like she. So I've seen Nug perform on stage, and I've seen him do comedy, and he's brilliant. And I'm not saying that because you're my guest here, but you just are, and it's a fact, right? And I was surprised when I saw you in Evil Dead the Musical,
Right?
And I heard you sing as the part of Jake, and it you know when you see a performance on stage and no one who will ever do that, you're like my Patti LuPone. Okay, so if I saw Patti LuPone in Evita, you or Betty Buckley in Cats, you are that to me for Jake in that show.
That we sold the soundtrack at the Toronto show,
Right.
of the Toronto run of Evil Dead, and the soundtrack was recorded with the off-Broadway cast from New York,
Right.
And people would buy the soundtrack and be disappointed I wasn't on it.
Oh.
So when people wanted me to sign it, I would tell them I wasn't on it, and
Right.
they were stumped. They couldn't believe.
Right. Yeah, not to sound nationalistic, but I think the Toronto soundtrack should have been recorded because you guys were
it
like
was
that.
so much fun.
Yeah, you're great. But on that point, you're going to be in the Fringe in a show called Songbusters.
Yes, and it's kind of a mix of those two things because the entire show is improvised. We get a location, and that is it. So I might go to you in the front row and ask, what's a fun location where a lot of people hang out? And you would say,
let's say a rickety bench.
great. The whole show will take place on or around a rickety bench, and our music director will play a song. We don't know what he's going to play. We all come out and sing. We have stories and people and characters, and then 45 minutes later, we have an ending.
Amazing. And if for anyone who's in Toronto this summer during Fringe,
Yes.
you can go to fringetoronto.com.
Yeah, I think we run from the June 29th to, I want to say, July 10th.
Do you know what theater you're in?
We're at the Randolph Theater.
Oh, that's great.
Which is right beside Honest Ed's, which is where Fringe headquarters is, where they have a big beer tent. So we're right there. We have prime location.
I would definitely say check it out. And if you want to see more things that Nug's doing, you can follow him on Twitter at Nug13.
Yes,
Why 13?
NUG13. Because I couldn't just have Nug.
Okay.
And then everybody put numbers. But the 13's always been a lucky number for me, so I just went with, I should probably change it. I should probably use, because a number makes me look like a fake person on Twitter. So I think I might be changing, but that's what I'm sticking with.
I always love when you get an email from someone and they've put the year of their birth and they did it back in the day. And so it'll be like, Sarah James, 1973, or like, or when you get an email from someone and they have clearly they had set up this email when they were in high school or university, and it's so not appropriate anymore.
Oh, of course. My email is just something I whipped off one day, and then I realized this is not professional in any way. But it's not hard to go get another email now.
But at a certain point, you're like, I'm not going to do it because everyone knows
Everyone
me.
knows this email now.
If you could sing a duet with any singer, living or dead, and it doesn't have to be comedic because you have a beautiful voice, and the fact that you have the skill to be able to do it during improvised music is quite great, but
it's tough to say because I like so much like so many different kinds of music. So the first two names that popped into my head when you said that are wildly different.
Right.
But I think Annie Lennox is one of those.
Amazing.
But I also think Dolly Parton is one of those.
Yeah. Do you know I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan?
Yeah.
I'm a huge Dolly Parton fan. So if you could cover one of her songs.
Dolly?
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Because Jolene's pretty good.
Yeah.
But 9 to 5, like, I mean, it's all the good stuff.
Have you heard her cover version of Shine?
Yes. Heard
So
by
good.
Collective Soul.
So brilliant.
That is so good.
We were talking before we recorded the podcast of different covers and how some covers are just better than the originals.
Yeah. Well, and then I blew of my friend's mind the other day because everybody knows Torn by Natalie Imbruglia.
Right.
But nobody knows that's a cover.
Oh, is it?
So the song was originally done by a band called Edna Swap. They're called Edna Swap, and their album was called Wacko Magneto or something like that.
Right.
And their version, it's like a female lead singer, and it's almost like a metal band. And it is a wonderful version of that song. And then there's just an acoustic version with their lead singer, the Annie Previn is her name, singing Torn. And it's far better, leagues better than the Natalie Imbruglia one.
We'll have to look that. We'll have to definitely look that up.
It's really good.
Oh my goodness. What if you could sing a cover? What cover would that be?
I really like really old country, like the old country music, super old country music. So, I don't know, give me a Hank Williams, Hey Good Looking, What You Got Cooking, I like that a lot. In the car right now, I am singing along to what would be called yacht rock, yacht rock is like late 70s, early 80s, Steely Dan, kind of like Christopher Cross, like anything you would listen to while speeding across the ocean on your boat. And I'm listening to a lot lately of a song by the Little River Band called Cool Change. It is one of the most terrible songs ever written because the lyrics are like literally at some point in the song the lyrics are the albatross and the whales, they are my brothers. Like it is probably the worst, but you sing it at the top of your lungs. It's got a killer sax solo in the middle of it. It's the best worst song.
We need to get you to do an album, or you don't call it an album anymore, but like in a CD of the worst covers. Like the worst songs as covers, and just make them awesome. And we'll get Alice Munro to like do an intro. Remember how they used to have intros?
Liner notes. Get her to do my liner notes.
That would be so great. Well, listen, Nug, thank you so much for coming on today's show.
Me.
We had the absolute pleasure of having Clinton, Ontario's favorite son, not to be mistaken by Clinton, Ontario's favorite daughter, Alice Munro. We have had the pleasure of having Nug Narhgang here on the Insomnia Project. Thank you, Nug.
Thanks for having
me. You can follow him at Nug13. That's NUG13. Check out his podcast, Illusionoid, on iTunes, illusionoid.com, or follow it at illusionoidpod. As always, we're produced by Drumcast Productions, and today's podcast was recorded in Toronto.